Hi. It's been a minute. Okay, so I just wanted to address some things. And I've made this video before, but I didn't like how it came out. And I've written it before 1,000 times just because I cope with things a lot by writing. And I guess I'm hoping that maybe this time I'll film it and it'll come out the way that I want it to be. So I'll probably put this up on my blog's YouTube channel, which I think is good, but it's also kind of like I want to make this video for my immediate circle of friends and family and everything. So yeah. And I think like it's a hard time to make a video and talk about, you and where you've been right now, because the world is so nuts and there's so many issues going on, and it might sound totally tone deaf of me to make a video about things that I've been struggling with, but it's really relevant because I couldn't control a lot of it, and it just happened to coincide with a time in the world where shit's popping off. But I think it's important that I talk about it now. So I don't know how long it's been, probably a couple months, 3 months ago, my social medias went silent. And my life kind of took a detour, I guess. I already kind of felt like the deck was stacked against me because of COVID and how I had to give up the second half of my freshman year of college. I couldn't even go back after break because it was too dangerous for me, so I had to withdraw, and I didn't get to finish the year with everybody else online, as we all have been doing recently, which was really kind of heartbreaking to me in a way, because I just never envisioned my freshman year of college going that way. Like, I always kind of pictured it being different, but not even that. I always kind of pictured being able to kind of go with the flow and be with kind of up with my peers and everything. And I think because COVID was so dangerous for me, I kind of lost out on the opportunity to screw around online and complete classes and kind of just do what all of my friends were doing from school, and keep up with them. I just kind of felt like I was on a whole different plane because my days consisted of pretty much nothing except for taking care of my cat. And that was really sad for me and hard. I don't really know where I should start with this part of it, but I feel like probably around 3 months ago, I was in a situation where I felt like I had to escape something. I felt like nobody around me understood what was happening, and so they were all just getting mad at me, and it wasn't helping. And I was desperate to find a way out. So I went down a whole bunch of paths that I didn't need to go down, because even if they don't get it at all, there are people here that love me and they're going to take care of me. even if sometimes they're going to piss me off so much because they just don't know what I'm going through and they don't know what it's like. So, but there was one person that left my life because of that, and he was really important to me, and I hurt him, but I never wanted to, and I tried to fix it so hard because it wasn't me. It was, but it wasn't like, I lost touch with who I am for a while. It's been like that. But it finally drove me to a place where I needed so badly to get back to myself and just re-engage with myself, because I just felt so far away from who I used to be, who I wanted to be. So, and I had someone in my life that I thought was there to support me forever, no matter what. And he wasn't. And it really hurt because he went from being someone that I really thought that I could spend the rest of my life with, somebody that I was in love with, to somebody that genuinely had this hatred for me that I never had for him. And he was willing to support me in so many ways. But I knew for a very long time that the thing that I was struggling with was the one thing that he couldn't support me with, because he needed his own help with it. And that is mental illness. And you can't help somebody else who's struggling with that until you address your own. And I don't think he will. I guess I think he will address his own, and I think he is now. But you can't help someone else until you've gotten control of yourself. And I don't necessarily think that kind of, I think people think that that's sort of like something that sort of is a foundation of a relationship. But I believe that you can be, when you're not okay, you can be in a relationship, because that's what it's about. It's about the other person being able to meet you halfway. And if someone can meet you halfway, then that's what you want. You want someone that you can lean on. But someone that isn't, when you're with someone that needs you to meet them halfway, and you can't even get yourself up and out of that hole, it's never gonna work. So I think I learned that sort of the hard way, and it really shocked me how you can spend a year and a half with someone talking every day, just being in love every day, and then the next day it can be just like that. They can't stand you. They want you out of their lives. They hate you. And I'm not saying I didn't fuck up. I don't really want to get super in the weeds about that. I just sort of want to say that I think there was deficits to both of us. And when you have deficits, you can't help someone fill their own deficits, because you gotta fix yours first. And that's sort of what I learned from that whole thing. And like, romantically speaking, like, I've moved on, I think, a lot easier than I thought that I would, because I think that once I kind of got space and I got a second to breathe, I realized that what I was struggling with, he was never going to be able to support. And I need somebody that can support that. And, you know, he also just changed. It just felt like the guy that I knew and the guy that I fell in love with just disappeared in those moments. And it really hurt. And it was sort of compounded by the fact that, sorry, I keep looking down. I have a little list of things that I want to address when I'm talking right now. So, yeah, it was compounded by the fact that I entered treatment recently. I always knew that I struggled with mental illness, and I've had some treatment before, not really, but depression has always been a problem for me. And I think that, you know, it was really easy to say, well, obviously she has depression, you know, she's got this genetic life-threatening illness that, you know, is really just a lot and difficult and sad and hard to process. So, you know, I think it was kind of like a to be expected sort of thing, you know, like my family didn't really think much beyond it because that would make sense. But the reality is I went so long experiencing those traumas and so long experiencing traumas with my family because, you know, we started to get fragmented a while ago, I think, and then we started having massive fights that caused a lot of trauma for me mentally, just because, like, when we fight, me and my parents and my sisters, we get really intense, and there's a lot of fucked up stuff that gets said sometimes. And, you know, I think, like, in the moment you don't really realize how much of an impact that's having on you until much later, because with me, I've always been so it's been really easy for me to say, okay, I'm just gonna put that in a closet somewhere in the back of my head and not think about it, and just sort of ignore that it ever happened. And then it kind of festers and grows and comes out in weird ways, in unrelated ways, and ways that you don't expect it to. So I think that's been hard, but at a point, I think it stopped being just us fighting and started becoming me fighting with my family, but them also fighting with my mental illness in a way where, like, they didn't know what was going on, so they didn't know they were making it worse, you know? They didn't know that they weren't dealing with, you know, something more than just me. So it would get to the point where these arguments would become really intense and these fights become awful. And, you know, I think I made a video where I was in a hotel, and I just don't feel that I want to hide the reason why I was there anymore. Like, the reason why I was there was because me and my dad got in a horrific argument after, you know, I did some things, but I feel like it was more, at that point it had become so out of my control. I felt like it had been just less and less, and my dad had got me angry, so I used his credit card, and that pisses him off, obviously. Like, that's a stupid thing to do, but, like, I think a part of me knows that his sort of, like, Achilles heel, so to speak, is his money, and I'm not really able to rebel in a lot of other ways. Like, I can't really smoke, I can't really drink now because my liver's dying, I can't really go out and party all night, and so that was kind of my way to say fuck you in a really impactful way that wasn't just the words. And then, we got in a really horrific, nasty fight about that, and it ended up getting physical. And at that point, I think me and my mom and my dad, even, we all realized that me living in the house with them, it just wasn't going to work. So, having a whole other month of break left, my mom decided that the best thing to do would be to put me in that hotel and have me live there and stay separate from the family, which was really hard because, there's this thing at the back of your mind going, but I need help, but I need you guys. I need your love and support. And that's kind of what ended up happening when I came home because of COVID. I couldn't, there was no other option for me. I had to stay here. And I think that that kind of escalated the issues that I was struggling with, because there was just no space. I felt like I couldn't get away and I was suffocating. And that's sort of what caused me to lash out, I think, and really have a breakdown back in April, where I was trying to do anything I could to make myself some money and get myself out of the home, because I felt so just, I don't want to say unsafe, because it wasn't like a feeling of being unsafe. It was a feeling of my mind isn't safe here. So yeah, but that sort of is when I finally, with my family, was like, it's time to address this. So I started a program at McLean Hospital, and I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. And I feel like that's a really big, scary thing to think about. And at first it really scared me, because all I could think about was that guy from that movie Split. And I was like, I'm not like that, am I? And I'm not. I don't have multiple personalities, but I do have a personality disorder. And, people hear that and there's stigma to that, and it's really hard. And so I haven't really talked about it privately with a lot of my friends. And I feel like it's something that I want to say out loud and I want to share with the world, because I remember how alone I felt and how confused I was and how much my head was just spinning, and I was feeling like I didn't know what was wrong, and I felt like I couldn't ask for help and I couldn't bring it up. And I don't ever want anybody else to feel that alone in it, because you shouldn't have to feel alone, because there are a lot of supports out there, and it's okay. It's okay to not be okay. It's not okay to just keep being not okay because you don't want to address the issue. And I learned that the hard way. So, whatever you're struggling with out there, please ask for help. Don't try to face it alone. And tell someone how you're feeling. It's going to be okay. Because, even if no one close to you understands it, there will always be someone out there that will understand it. And it may take time for, your immediate circles to understand it. But when you say that you're struggling, or when someone you love says that they're struggling, just know that they mean it and that they need the help. I think, it stems from a few things that I think have gone on in my life. One being those sort of intense arguments with my family, because that that was nothing new, and it's always sort of been there. And I just don't think that my dad or my mom or my sisters really had the chance to be kind of taught how to properly respond to me. Not because I was mentally ill, but because of the nature of CF. I feel like, you never know what is valid and what is not. And, in the context of CF, because your life becomes CF, right? And so things that would be very valid to other people, like, I have a really bad stomach ache and I'm throwing up today, I don't want to go to school, that would be really valid to a normal person. But in a CF family, it's so common that it becomes like, should we push her to go or should we not? And I think that's kind of, one of the roots of the problem is parents that get diagnosed with CF for their children are not given a handbook to know how to respond to these things that are so relevant to other people, but just so confusing to families like mine. So that's, and I think that for so long I went through a lot of trauma because of CF, a lot. Like, recently I had a bowel blockage almost a year ago now, and I found out that I did 2 nights in a row, I did a procedure that, on no drugs, that did, it was essentially what they use, or one of the techniques they use in the CIA to torture terrorists. It's called bowel irrigation. And it was hell. And I get a very, get a very palpable, visceral reaction to those memories. And I think that was something that we never really discussed. Like, my mom was so traumatized by that. She passed out in the OR watching me. And and I remember just feeling like, well, someone has to be strong here. Someone has to be able, and it's better if it's me, because if I'm the strong one, then the other people in my life don't have to worry as much because they know that I'm strong, and that didn't help, because stuff like that, traumas like that, you need to unpack those, and you need to think about how those things affected you. And that's kind of the way that it's been my whole life. I've been through something scary and traumatic with CF, and then, we kind of come home from the hospital and regroup, and we leave it in the past, and that's that. But I think not addressing those traumas is extremely damaging to me, because your worldview is shifted a little bit by that every time you go through something like that. And so I think that it's something that from now on I am going to value doing, and I'm going to be making sure that I do, as hard as it is and as shitty as it is and as terrifying as it is. I'm going to do it, because not doing it, that's what got me here. So and then I think the next kind of thing on my list here that I wanted to talk about was getting diagnosed with CFRD, which is CF-related diabetes. And so yesterday was my first day I started insulin, and it is extremely difficult, because I don't have a pump. I don't really need a pump, so I don't have a pump. And we're sitting there in a Zoom call learning how to use this shot thing that I'm going to use to put insulin in, and I'm thinking, this is a half-hour ordeal. I'm not even gonna be hungry by the time I'm done with this. Like, I'm still sitting here right now wondering how I'm gonna cope, if I'm gonna even bother eating a meal today, because that just doesn't feel like something I want to do. And but I know it's important because I have to eat, and it's hard because it's not even like my so if you know how diabetes works, glucose comes in like sort of highs and lows, and my blood sugar has been known to drop as low as below 50 and raise up to 500, multiple times a day. And so the insulin is supposed to help kind of control that, and that's what I want. But I think about it and I think, well, I think it might just be, I'm like, well, you know what, that's just too much, I'm just gonna give up eating forever. And that's not the most helpful thing, but it's that kind of stuff that I never really sat with before, because I would get diagnosed with things, or I would be told I had to do a new treatment, and it would be like, okay, put your game face on, it's time to start doing this, it's time to just kind of face up and look at this. And I could be as pissed as I wanted inside, but I would just kind of ignore it and do the thing anyways that was sort of new and stressful. So I think for me, like, something that I'm learning in treatment is to really sit with my emotions and to really fully experience things and process and understand that it's totally okay to sit there all night and be like, I'm never gonna have a meal again, never, I don't ever, this is just bullshit, this is too much. And that is what enables you to come back, I think, and say, okay, you know what, now that I've gotten that out of my system, I realize how ridiculous it is. The problem is when I try to do that simultaneously with just hitting things really hard, it's like they're just like counterproductive to each other almost. Like they just don't. It's hard to like fully experience it while rushing right into it and doing it. So it was good for me, and I'm still kind of working on it. Even today, last night was my first night that I did it, but I had my mom do it. She wanted to test it on a big meal, so I had some pizza, and she did it for me. She did the shot, and that made it easier, I think, for me to sit there and be like, okay, like, you're just gonna take tonight, maybe chunk it today, and really process and feel that and understand, and validate yourself in that feeling of, holy shit, this is a major pain in my ass. And so that's kind of a big thing, and that's been extremely hard to deal with too, I think, because during all of my time facing kind of my mental health issues, I also had to address that, and it felt like a lot to me most of the time. It still does, but I'm getting better and better at handling it. I think that, the other thing that I'm kind of working on in therapy and with my diabetes is like really getting control of my eating habits. And that's also extremely hard. You don't really think of it, but it's kind of like, I don't know, to go from not really tracking what you're eating at all to having to like calculate a percentage based on carbohydrates of everything that you eat. It's like I'm gonna scream. And so, but I think that kind of boils down to something that I'm kind of working on right now, because recently, if you've been following my personal social medias, you'll know that, I've been posting, pictures of me. And because I think that working on eating and focusing so much on eating with diabetes and everything and therapy, it's making it hard for me to kind of have a positive body image. And I think me sort of facing that and, having fun posting pictures of myself, or taking pictures of myself and just enjoying that, and being able to kind of practice exposing myself to my own image and being like, and instead of being like, wow, like diabetes is gonna destroy this, looking at it and being like, you know what, like that girl is someone that is strong enough and beautiful enough and capable enough and amazing enough to handle this and so much more. So that's like a really positive thing. Yeah. So something that like they put a lot of emphasis on in my BPD treatment. So I'm in DBT therapy, and something that they put a lot of focus on in dialectical behavior therapy is like accumulating positives and building and building on like activities that you like, or hobbies or talents or whatever. And so that's kind of why I'm ready to post this video now, because I really want to get back to my blog, because it means a lot to me, and because doing makeup feels so it's just nice to be in that creative space and to be looking at myself and feeling good about myself, that I think is so important. And so, but I felt like I couldn't just jump right back in with like a palette review, because I just feel like there's just a lot left unsaid. So that's kind of why I wanted to film this video, and just talk about everything that's been going on with me. So yeah. And so I think the only other things that I really have on this list are kind of my fall plans now, because I think they're, gonna look a little bit different. And like, that's another reason why I'm ready to start blogging again, is because I really, really want to share that experience with the world. Because I think when I started treatment, I was still kind of dead set on moving myself into my own apartment in Beverly and starting up classes with everyone else for the fall semester. But now I'm thinking about, moving to a therapy group home in the fall for a couple of months before I go off into my own apartment and start classes in the spring. So that's kind of what I am envisioning for myself at the moment, because I'd move into the group home right away. But for me, having the summertime, because I am really starting to feel connected to my family again, and that's something that is really important to me, because for a while it felt like it was like I didn't have one anymore. For a while I felt so sort of alone in the world, that it was like they were all so close to me but so far away. And recently they've been doing awesome about sort of just reaching out, and not in the way where like, my parents are working hard in therapy, and like my sisters are trying their best. They're young, but they're trying. And sometimes it feels like I treated them badly for so long. Not to say that they treated me specifically awesome either, but I'm just excited to love each other again. And I want this time to keep doing that. And I also really want this time because, my friends are home now, and I want to spend time with them. Because it is natural right now for all of us to be home and enjoying each other's company. It looks a little different with, the virus and everything, but it makes a lot of sense right now, because, in the fall, when everybody goes away to a place, I feel like I'll feel much more natural about doing it myself. Yeah, no, but I guess I just kind of wanted to say that, like, if you're struggling with something, and if you feel alone, and if you feel like you get lost in your own head sometimes, please tell someone. And I'm not even saying that in a way where, like, I mean, tell someone before, like, you commit suicide or something. I actually just mean that in a way where, like, at the very least, you know, it could very well be, please tell someone, you know, if you're feeling that way. But even my life could be so much different if I had spoken up earlier. You know, I never really considered suicide, but so much is different for me now. And a lot of it I think is maybe good. Like, I don't think my relationship with my ex-boyfriend, like I was talking about in the beginning of this video, would have lasted forever, but maybe it wouldn't have exploded so detrimentally and so just ugly. And I went through a lot of things I didn't have to go through to call for help, because I felt like it was hard to just ask for help for those things. And so, geez, I'm tired talking about all this. But please speak up. I guess that's all I can say, is that it does get better. I haven't even been in treatment for all that long, but things have positively really shifted for me. And I'm really happy. I think for the first time in a while, like, I'm not, you know, super awesome, everything's perfect happy, but just the fact that things are moving in a good direction, it makes me happy, and it makes me feel like there's hope and things are going to be okay. And, you know, I'm gonna get there. And I may not get there today, and I may not get there tomorrow, and I may not get there a week from now, but I'm going to get to that place of, I'm handling this and I'm managing this, and, you know, I have all these tools, and I can go out into the world and feel good about myself and feel good about where I'm at. And I'm gonna get there, because I can feel myself every day making strides towards that place, and it feels really, really good. And so I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to the future for the first time in a really long time. One thing that we are doing in treatment is working on my impulsive shopping, which, to be honest, is something that I feel like is bad, because I've definitely spent way too much money, but, you know, I don't want to give up on doing new makeup things and trying new makeup things, so I'm going to try to, in my process with, you know, treatment, I'm going to try to figure out how I can create a good balance within myself to continue to pursue that stuff and still keep on track with my progress. So, yeah. I guess the other thing I just want to say is, if you know someone that is struggling, and if you know someone that is going through something similar to this, be kind. They don't want to hurt you. It might feel like it. They don't want to hurt you. But those people, those are the ones that need love the most. Those are the ones that, because I can tell you that being so alone on my journey for so long, if someone had just said, hey, do you need a hug, and given me a hug, things would have been so much easier. And so I guess I want to put that out there, that, even if it feels like inappropriate to say, hey, are you okay? Or to say, hey, like, you know, ask them what's going on, or ask them about, you know, their treatment process or whatever. It usually isn't. People want to feel cared for. People want to feel loved. And if you can make someone feel loved even for a second, then you should do it. Because the people that you would ask those questions, like, how's treatment going, they need it the most. And I just want to say thank you to all of my closest friends and family and everybody for reminding me how valuable I am, and how to put myself first, and how to put my love for them first, and how to focus on things that really truly matter to me, and encouraging me to go into those parts of my head that I put emotions and traumatic situations into, and I hid them in there. Well, I will hopefully see you guys very soon in another makeup related post, because I feel like that would be fun. But I'm also going to start doing my life updates again. Probably this week. I want to do another one by Monday. So, and I'll just, probably keep it short, because this is going to be a really long video as it turns out. So, yeah. But no. Thank you for watching, you guys. Please share, like, comment. Go check out the blog. It's all in the description below. And, yeah.